I think there's a problem with this video, that it is highly derivative of many popular bands within the genre. Although when viewed on its own merits, it does have a decent groove. However, when it has in groove, it lacks in originality. One can't help but be reminded of such bands as Pearl Jam, White Zombie, Suicidal Tendencies, and other bands that bear the mantle of so-called alternative rock. One is even reminded of Laurie Anderson when she wore curlers. This video speaks less to the heart and more to the sphincter. In closing, I think Korn would do well to learn more from...
Welcome to another great day to be alive, and this is my public service announcement. Watch out for those mobile games. Oh my heavens. I always like to come off like I don't do those mobile games. It's just predatory and just and you know, soon enough I'm just scrolling through Google Play and I say, oh, this one looks interesting, and 2 days later I'm like, I have not gotten anything meaningful done. Wow, I remember, I don't know, it was like 8 years ago, I don't know, 8 years ago, when you get those games, and they're pretty grindy and such. Now they got it down to a science. They know exactly how to just keep you pressing the buttons and going on and on. What? And I just had to say, oh my gosh, get me off this gerbil wheel. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to tell you the one that sucked me in because I don't want to contribute to your delinquency. So just bear that in mind. That's your public service announcement for today. Then we want to get on to what I wanted to do here. You saw my subtitle here, reviews. What happened is someone in the comments said, hey, you know, you've been playing this Atlantic Chase thing a whole bunch. When are you going to do an actual review of it? And I'm like, uh-oh, now I'm in trouble because now I have to come up with something intelligent and insightful and something that somebody would actually watch and kind of even do that. And it's like, because I'm playing the game and I'm just talking the game, I'm just going through the procedures and just color commentating as I go. I don't think that's particularly brilliant on any part of things there. And it reminds me of another YouTuber. He was talking about how you form an image of people by like their movie roles and stuff like that. So he'll talk about Patrick Stewart and, you know, Captain Picard. And he's like, you know, you actually go to his Twitter and he just comes off as a dummy. So we'll have a picture there of a gate, you know, like an old gate, and you know, be like, ooh, this gate appears quite old, and stuff like that. It's like, I like tea. It's like if my cat had a Twitter account. I saw a squirrel today. But, you know, I'm trying to avoid the pitfalls, so I have to sit here and come up with ways to, if I want to do a review, I gotta like, first of all, you'll see it all set up here. This is the 2-player setup, because I did the full campaign. I didn't do the whole full campaign, but I just wanted to get a feel for it. So when I do the review, I can talk intelligently about how that plays out, and then hopefully I can give you something that's worthwhile. Now, as far as what comes next, after if I do a review, I think I've kind of said I would, so I think I've committed to it. But anyway, after that, I think I'll go and try to finish up those Norway solitaire scenarios and record those. After that, I think I'm going to go ahead and put away the game for a little bit, just kind of avoiding burnout, I suppose, even though I can't anticipate total burnout on this, but it's one of those, I just need to maybe try something else. And that kind of gets into why I kind of like started doing the channel, and it started out board games, but it was really, the thing in mind was just kind of niche, take your pick, I'll say niche interests, and certainly wargaming is a niche interest, a niche of a niche, as it were. But I wanted to move on to something. It'll probably be war games. The problem, and hopefully I'm not turning anyone off, says, oh, I just want war games, nothing but war games. And, you know, the only problem with that, you know, I could do that. The only problem with that is I don't own that many war games, and I don't buy that many war games. They come few and far between. So I just run out of content, I think. Because I also wanted to do things like, I was going to do a little book here. I like to do book reviews. But also getting into just, here, what am I trying to say? If you go to my blog on Board Game Geek, I describe it as picking through the pop culture slag pile looking for fun. And so, board gaming, niche interest, looking for stuff out of the mainstream, trying to avoid the mega corporation products and things like that, and just find things off the beaten path to talk about. And that can include books, even fiction, even comic books, even though I'm not much of a comic book guy, but I do have some coming that might be interested to you. Movies, and even probably video games. I got my eye on a few of those as well. But that's kind of where I'm at. So that's it for content. I did want to, I'll just do a kind of a mini overview of The Third Reich is Listening here to end up with by Christian Jennings, which I presented on another video. And I like this book. I would say that it's general readership, not particularly academic, I would say. If you're looking for heavy stats, this is not your book. There's some endnotes, although the source, it's not a whole lot of, actually it is. It's some primary sources. It's not heavily footnoted. So if you're looking for this really academic work, that's not going to be here. More general, like I said, more general reading. And I wanted to make a comment on here, just in relates to the game. Obviously, that's why I got the book, because it talks about, it heavily invests in the Atlantic, Battle of the Atlantic. And one of the questions that came up on the rules forum is like, why can't we have a hidden task force in this game? And the designer came out and says, you can probably do something like that if you want to, and figure out a way. You'd have to do some tinkering, of course. But I'd like to point out, and this book kind of pointed this out, is there's actually a pretty good historical justification for why everyone knows about task force. And I'll read you this little section here when he's talking about Wilhelm Tranau and the Bedienst. I'm not going to try to pronounce that correctly. German naval intelligence, what they were learning from World War I and coming into World War II, and how are they going to go about their things. And one of the things they're going to do, and he says it right here, he's had 4 things they were going to do, and the third one is the one of interest. The third action taken was improved methods of gathering information about the movements and signals of foreign navies outside the Baltic, the North Sea, and the English Channel. This came from German agents based in ports around the world. Since before World War I, the German Navy had relied on a network of diplomats, naval reserve officers, businessmen, and employees of shipping lines to pass on information to them about the movement of other countries' vessels, particularly ships from British Royal and Merchant Navies. The part-time agents worked either for the national interest, in the case of naval reservists and diplomats, or for money, in the case of shipping line employees, maritime clerks, and other port officials. Before the war, they had been happy to do this work, as it often led to preferential treatment in the awarding of lucrative naval cargo contracts. The agents were based in every port in the world, from Shanghai to Trondheim, Montevideo to Barca, from Piraeus to Cape Town, with their ledgers and their lists. In tropical autumn, Mediterranean spring, Arctic winter, and the baking heat of the Red Sea summer, they watched every vessel arrive in harbor, dropped anchor, dock, tie up, load cargo, and unload cargo. Whether it was a leopard-like lines of a gray destroyer, the trudging slump of a tramp steamer hauling coal or cement, or a huge and magisterial cargo ship moving grain or oil by loads counted in the thousands of tons, these people knew ships, they knew the sea, and they knew the shipping world. They saw everything, and they kept watch and kept notes. So German naval intelligence went back to this agent network that existed before and during World War I, and they passed word about what they wanted. The names of British merchant ships passing through port each day, and if possible, any sightings of British naval vessels, where they were headed and whence they came. Tranau and his men were about to start trying to break the codes of the Royal Navy, and this information would be their way in. Yeah, and I think that plays out here in the sense that, when your ships are in dock, it's pretty hard to sneak a battleship out of there without everybody knowing that it just left. Now, of course, once it gets out of sight, who knows where it goes, and then your trajectories come in. But there's a good reason to understand why we know what's in the task force and roughly where they're going. So that was a good point for you. And there's some nice pictures here. Let's see, where's that one? Okay, let's see if I can bring this in close. I've never seen it. This is obviously a U-boat. They got this cool, I guess it's a brontosaurus here with this little slit eye right there. That is neat. I've never seen like a what do you call it, a mascot or something like that on a sub. That's legit right there. And what's the other one? This was funny. German code breakers succeeded in decrypting signals sent by partisans in Ukraine. Here, a partisan woman milks a cow to provide fresh. What does this have to do with code breaking? She got like a key telegraph and the others. That was a weird picture and a weird caption for a book about code breaking. But yeah, worthwhile reading. And like I said, well, actually, I think that's about all I have to say. I need to finish it up. It's really starting to get into the Battle of the Atlantic. But that's just a quick overview. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.